Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Lydia and today I'm going to share with you some of my favorite books. Books I think should be on your TBR if they're not already, if you haven't already read them. Lately I've been trying to find good new recommendations with mixed success. I've seen a lot of discourse recently about how I need to bring back yearning and longing. I've heard some people assert that that means clean romance, and if that's what that means, then I'm fully behind it, because having read some modern romances, I just gotta say, they have got nothing on what the old authors wrote. The tension and the emotion that you can find in books like this. And I am fully on the train of bring back yearning, and if you're looking for books like that, you have come to the right place, because I think probably 3 out of 4 of these books have a romance plot that involves unrequited love, yearning, longing, and they will definitely satisfy that desire in your heart for some good old-fashioned romance. I thought it'd be fun to share some of my favorite reads of all time. And these are all 5-star books. They were all written and published well over 50 years ago. I am kind of an old soul, so if you're an old soul, if you're looking for clean romance, if you want yearning and longing, these are books you should read that you will not find on booktok. I have not seen anybody talking about these. They're not completely obscure. If you go look them up on Goodreads, they have reviews. They're fairly well known in their day. Yeah, they're not something you're gonna run across in a lot of books you should read this summer. So hopefully this video will introduce you to some really fantastic new to you reads. I'm trying to decide which one I should start with. I think it's gotta be this one. All right, so first and foremost, Freckles. I love this book so much. If you know me, you know I love this book. You know I'm obsessed with this book. I think some people view it as extremely fluffy romance. There's nothing wrong with a fluffy romance, but there's so much more to this than just romance. This is a book where the setting is a main character, and it's actually set in Indiana. I'm from Indiana, so naturally I have a lot of loyalty to the setting of this story, but it's an Indiana that doesn't exist anymore. So if you're unfamiliar with Indiana history, a large part of the state used to be covered in swamps and wetlands and marshes, and there were old growth forests and a very diverse ecosystem and a wide variety of plant life and animal life that you can't find here anymore. And this book is set in a swamp in a time when, at its publishing in 1904, the swamps were being cleared, the rivers were being dredged, and a lot of the ecosystem was going away. So if you're someone who likes nature, you'll just like this book anyway, because the setting it really draws you in. I feel like this book would not be the same without the setting. There would be no story. It tells the story of an orphaned boy who comes to look for work for a logging company, the company that is clearing the forest. And along the way, he becomes interested in the plants and animal life. And then he meets the love interest, who, one of the quirky things about Jane Stratton Porter's writing is that she often just gives people monikers and doesn't give them real names. So Freckles is just Freckles, and the girl he loves is just called the Angel, the Swamp Angel, or Angel for short. It could be cheesy, but I do not have much patience for cheesiness. If you know me, I hate Hallmark movies with a passion. I can't stand them. This is nothing like that, so don't let that scare you off. I think it's just, it's not deeply serious, but at the same time, I am trying to take myself less seriously. It's something I've been working on the last few years. So if you just let yourself enjoy it, it's lovely. And this is just one of my favorite books of all time. I feel like I don't even need to tell you the plot. You'll just enjoy it. It's adventurous, it's romantic, it's so fun. I can't say enough good things about this book. There is a sequel to this book that I actually read first. It's called The Girl of the Limberlost, and it's kind of standalone. You can read them in either order. I think I read The Girl of the Limberlost first, and I loved that book so much, and I love this book even more. It completely eclipsed The Girl of the Limberlost for me in terms of how much I enjoyed it and loved it. If you're looking for something, I don't know, just really wholesome to read, this is for you. Second of all, slightly less wholesome, a little more sensational, but still clean, we have 9 Coaches Waiting by Mary Stewart. I was actually so excited to find this copy of this book. It's a hardcover ex-library edition, well loved, but in really good shape, at Goodwill. a thrilling find. I was very excited to find this because I read this in ebook originally, I believe. Very fun to own a copy of it. This is another book that's highly atmospheric, set in a very different place. It's set in the mountains of France. It is a mystery / thriller. Linda Martin, a young 20s orphan, again. I guess that's another theme. What is it with orphans in books? I don't know, but it works. It works. Linda Martin, she gets a job as a governess to a 9-year-old noble French boy named Philippe. And she gets the job by saying that she doesn't know French, but she does know French. And she just keeps it a secret because she's supposed to teach Philippe English. And partly as a result of her knowing French, she begins to uncover a very dark secret in the very mysterious chateau where Philippe lives with his aunt and uncle. Something I also love about this book is that Linda Martin refers to another one of my favorite authors, I think a couple times, John Buchan, who is an English writer of thrillers and spy novels. And so I'm guessing that Mary Stewart, the author of this book, was inspired by those. But that's just like a fun literary cross-reference, because John Buchan is another author that's not very well known today. And I considered putting one of his books on this list, but I feel like it doesn't quite fit the vibe. But yeah, this is another one that I just love. This is the only book in this stack that is not like yearning, longing, or unrequited love. I don't even remember if they kiss at the end, but it's actually incredible how much tension Mary Stewart is able to create between the characters of Linda and Raoul. Something I do when I find a book I like is I think this is how I know if a book is really 5 stars for me, is that I end up doing a deep dive into the author and all of their works, all their bibliography, to try to find more books by them that I like. And that's something I've done here. I think I've read 3 other Mary Stewart novels. My Brother Michael, Madam Will You Talk. There's one set in the Scottish Hebrides that I cannot remember the name of for the life of me. And I literally just bought a paperback copy of another one of her novels today. So I love her books. They're all really fun. Strong female leads and adventures in exotic places. And I believe this was published in the 50s, but she wrote books up until like the 90s. So she had a long writing career and wrote many, many books. Third, we have another book with a strong female lead. This is Gaudy Night by Dorothy L. Sayers. This is the 9th book in the Lord Peter Wimsey mystery series. And you don't have to read the other books in the series in order to read this and understand it. There's just enough context given that the mysteries of the previous books are not spoiled, but you also understand what's going on. So you could pick this up as a standalone, and I imagine once you've read it that you would want to go back and read more of the books in the Lord Peter Wimsey mystery series. I think I read 2 or 3 before I read this one. I think I actually listened to this as an audiobook. I had to check this out of the library because I don't own a copy. Growing up, I was a huge library utilizer, and I didn't own a lot of the books that I enjoyed reading, so I would have to like check them out of the library to read them. So I don't own copies of them. And then I became more of an audiobook user and an ebook reader. So I think I actually listened to this on audiobook the first time, but I've been rereading it just to like refresh myself with the plot. And I actually remember the plot quite well, but I think the real beauty of this book is the characters. It is a very character-driven mystery. If you just extracted out the whodunit and made that a book, it would be quite boring. This is set in a fictional women's college at Oxford. Harriet Vane is the narrator of this book, and she's a friend of Lord Peter. Bother. This particular novel is set at a fictional women's college at Oxford, of which Harriet Vane is an alumni. Is that the right way to say that? Which is the alma mater of Harriet Vane, who is the narrator of this book. And she is called back to help unravel a mystery of a poison pen. There is someone who is disrupting the lives of the staff and the students by sending unpleasant and threatening notes. And so she's called in to try to help, and she considers calling in Lord Peter, with whom she has a complicated and rocky relationship. She is there trying to help them solve who is behind all of the trouble that's happening at, I believe it's called Shrewsbury, the fictional college. And yeah, this is just a very character-driven book. I listened to this the first time several years ago, but I really relate to it even more now. As someone in my mid-20s, she does a really great job of capturing what it's like to like go back to a place you used to like frequent and seeing how it's changed. I never went to college, but you still experience this with like different jobs and different circles of friends that you used to be a part of, etc. And she just does a great job of capturing what that's like and like the passage of time and how different, you know, the younger generation is. And yeah, if you enjoy, again, a strong female lead, that is Harriet Vane. It's also funny. It's not a comedy per se, but it's full of humor. And not to spoil it for you, but she is being pursued romantically by Lord Peter. And I love the relationship. It's not the kind of relationship I would want to find myself in, where she is really questioning whether she wants to be with him or not. But I don't know. I love his character in this book. I think he's so sweet. To give you a little bit of context of the history, because I think it's so interesting of this series, Dorothy L. Sayers wrote the first Lord Peter Wimsey mystery kind of as a joke or just for fun. She created him to be very empty-headed. She, I believe herself, called him a cross between Fred Astaire and Bertie Wooster. Looks like Fred Astaire has the brain of Bertie Wooster, but he's secretly a genius kind of character. He reminds me of Sir Percy Blakeney from The Scarlet Pimpernel, where that like basically sums him up. But he is solving mysteries in 1920s London. So like if Sir Percy Blakeney was Sherlock Holmes. And she wrote the first book and it was a huge success. And so people wanted her to write more of them. And she hated writing them. She thought they were stupid and pretty much just did them, I think, for the commercial success. It's been a long time since I refreshed myself on this story, so I may not have all the details correct. But over time, she began to write the books a little more seriously and try to like flesh out the characters more so that like she was more excited about writing them. And by the time you get to this book, I feel like she is at her peak of writing these characters and the relationships and the stories and everything. And this one is just such a good people story. And honestly, like kind of relevant. All of these books being written a long time ago, I feel like they're surprisingly relevant and like easy to understand in a way that like maybe Pride and Prejudice is like a little older, it's a little more cryptic. The social norms are a little bit further removed from the present day. So like it's still very easy to like understand and relate to these characters. And I find Harriet Vane to be an extremely sympathetic main character. I can really relate to her and I find her really interesting. So this is another very good one and another prime example of yearning. And I also find Lord Peter, he's such a funny character. I'm always splitting my sides when he's around. And then last but not least, this is not the book. It's a stand-in. It's another book I used to get out of the library, and vexingly, my library has undergone a renovation where apparently they got rid of all of the good books, and they didn't even have the courtesy to tell me so I could come buy them. I'll get over it eventually, but I couldn't get a copy of it. It's called A Damsel in Distress by P.G. Wodehouse. P.G. Wodehouse is best known for Bertie Wooster, the character who half inspired Lord Peter Wimsey. This is a book that he wrote Jeeves and Wooster ever, I think. I believe it was written and published in 1919, and it's called, Damsel in Distress. And it's a hilarious book. I find it way funnier than Jeeves and Wooster I ever found them. It's about a young British noblewoman. I think her name is Lady Maud Marshmoreton, which is just like such a great name. She's grounded by her family currently. I think she's 19 or 20 because the summer before she had the temerity to have a crush on this American that her family found highly unsuitable for her. She hears he's in London and she runs away to London to try to meet up with him. And she fails. And in the process, her brother Percy is pursuing her. And she's trying to hide from him. So she jumps into a cab with a random stranger and asks if she can hide there. And in the cab is an American musical writer named George Bevan. And George Bevan crushes really hard on Lady Maud Marshmoreton. And he proceeds to help her escape from her brother in hilarious fashion, and then follows her down to the country to try to woo her. There's a huge misunderstanding. She thinks he's trying to help her meet up with her old lover. He thinks that he's trying to pursue her. He has no concept of what she thinks he's doing. and then there's a hilarious twist at the end, and the whole thing is just uproariously funny. But it's also another case of yearning. George Bevan is like a really solid, nice character, and the whole thing is so funny. It was actually made into a musical starring Fred Astaire, and I had seen it years before I read the book. And then when I was reading the book, I was like, this is vaguely familiar. It was quite funny to realize that I'd seen it in movie form. But the book is way, 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 way better. Absolutely hilarious. I should find a copy of it just for my personal library because it's just such a fun read. I can't recommend it highly enough. If you're just looking for something to laugh at, that's what I'd recommend. I feel like every book I'm running across in recommendations these days either is contemporary romance, fantasy, or these like extremely serious philosophical and political essays, which I can't say I'm particularly interested in reading. Like if I'm going to read something, I want it to be fun and enjoyable. And it's probably going to be fiction or a biography. That's just what I prefer to read. I'm not an easy customer. I have a hard time finding things that I'm really excited about. So hopefully, if you're like me and you're having trouble finding books to read, you will pick up and enjoy one of these books. And let me know if you do. And if there are any like modern reads that you can really wholeheartedly recommend, let me know, because I would love to find some newer books that are like I'm as excited about reading and talking about as these. Yeah, if you're looking for something good to read, I really recommend all of these books. And if you read them, please let me know. Tell me what you thought, and we can have a discussion about old books. If you know of any good books, new or old, leave a comment and tell me, because I'm always looking for something good to read, and I would really, really appreciate hearing from you. Those are my recommendations. I'll just have to Photoshop in a copy of A Damsel in Distress onto this stack so that you can see Victory by Conrad, not A Damsel in Distress, but here's my stack. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. Let me know if you like the book content. Not being a huge reader of like new books, I feel like I'm not eligible to like make book content, but that's not true. There are plenty of old books that I've read that I never hear people talking about that I think should be recommended. So when I think of more to share, I will probably share them. That's all for me today. I'll see you next time. Bye!